what I forgot to say when I was telling all those stupid jokes was all the good things about marriage. You know, there's just so much good about this. It's like, it's almost hard to start.
Raymond, look.
No, I'm going to get this. Okay, here's something. You know how when you're sleeping and you kind of stop breathing? When you're married, there's always someone there to nudge you alive. All right, I don't know what I'm talking about. Look, this is marriage. You wake up in the morning and she's there. You come home at night and she's there. You eat, she's there. You go to sleep, there. And I know that sounds like a bad thing. But it's not. It's not. Not if it's the right person. Then it's good. It's good. It's really, really good.
Oh, that's got to be one of my favorite sitcoms ever. Anyway, if you don't like it, I'm sorry for that. Well, here's the goal of the next 4 weeks. Don will be asking Jeanette and I some questions here in a minute. And, you know, historically, pastors have been a little hesitant to be transparent with folks, as though I fear you may lose some respect for us, but I'd rather you, I guess, learn and you lose some respect. I can deal with that, and your life be better from our experience. You know, in churches for so long, we tried to fix everything that the world could see, and we tended very little to the things that the world couldn't. And so my prayer for our church today and other churches is that we would, you know, I've been talking a lot about going back and making things simple, is that we would come back to those things that we really know in our heart are a priority. Folks, the percentage of attendance you have for Sunday school pales in comparison to your relationship to your spouse, okay? Your attendance to worship, pales in comparison to the relationship you have with your wife, your husband. And so we've made priorities out of things that really don't align with Scripture. Now, the Bible says don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together. I understand that. But when you look at Christ telling me to love my bride as he loved the church, friend, if I don't do that, it doesn't matter how many times I'm at church. I've not been faithful. And so what I'm challenging us to do is to think in a new direction, in a simpler manner, if you will. That the highest priority I have in this brief life is to first love Jesus Christ. Well, friend, that's a spiritual relationship. But when it comes to things in the tangible nature that I can see and touch and enjoy, she is the number one priority of my life. Amen. And if anything, and here's what you see happens. When that gets out of whack, people just literally fall off the joy train. I'm telling you, if the marriage is not right, they will seek to get involved and control things. They'll whine, they'll complain, they'll be negative. But when marriage is okay, it is amazing the favor, the peace, and the joy that the Lord bestows upon someone. And so what I'm telling you is if things aren't right in your life, I guarantee you something is at the core of your marriage. And so there's 7 questions that the staff's put together for us this morning, and I hope we get to those. Now, next week, it's going to get a little bit harder. This is Jeanette's first time. For those of you who do not know, this is my wife, Jeanette. We've been married 16 years now, as of, I guess, the first part of last month, middle of last month, January 11th, right? Test 1 completed. I had it written down up here. Just kidding. And it's going to get a little harder. But we have 4 children, 3 here, and 1 with Jesus, and the Lord has been ultimately good to us. Now, some of our story is going to be tough. And some of it's going to be extremely transparent, and some of it here, I believe it's week 2 and 3, we'll probably be asking the kids to make sure that they're not in here. As if we're going to talk about marriage, there's always adult conversation that goes with that. And so anyway, we won't be taking questions from the floor, so I apologize for that. We've got to have some degree of control here and predictability. So again, Don, I'm going to let you ask the first question, and I'll let Jeanette fire away.
All right. Well, I won't reveal who sent me a text for a question. So, Chris Moore, no, I won't ask that question. I'll stick to these 7. So, I'm sorry, man. You'll have to ask that
Remember,
later.
I signed your paycheck, son.
All right, guys. As we get started, what does the word marriage mean to you?
All right, I'm going to try to get through this one better than the first one. I wrote down that marriage means to me, of course, loving one another, supporting each other, commitment only to Him, and intimacy only with Him.
That's Big Daddy for short. One of the things I want to talk about this morning, and we'll get to, is what we expected and what it was like. And I thought marriage at first was my opportunity. I'm a fixer. I know how in my head how things work best, or I think I do. And I try to create a world that revolves around that. And so the first couple years of our marriage was me trying to fix her. Now, she was perfect and sweet, but I had expectations of how the home should go and the finances should go and relationships should go. And so one day the Lord just really convicted me is that the person I fell in love with, her personality, had become so much like mine that we were almost indistinguishable, and that's not necessarily good. The Lord created her to be my balance, and if you know me at all, I'm unpredictable, a little bit insane. I don't play by rules well. You just never really know what's coming next. And she is that balance for me where my world makes sense when she's around. And so the Lord just convicted me, and I see it. I see it in counseling with couples as we're trying to fix each other. And man, I wasted a lot of time and done a lot of damage trying to fix her, and she didn't need it. The Lord doesn't try to fix me. He just loves me. And so if we'll look at marriage in a different light, as in if you think it's your place to fix your spouse, you have completely misunderstood the foundation and the basis of marriage. Marriage is me choosing to love with my whole heart, my whole person, my wife. And friend, none of us are perfect. And she is much, much more perfect or closer than I would ever hope to be. But still, we find ourselves nitpicking and wishing we would change things. And so we focus on these things that need altered rather on the person that we've chosen to love. And I can tell you, if you'll shift your attention away from repairing them to loving them and trust the Lord to do the changing, you're never going to change someone. You're never going to institute genuine change in someone's life. Only the Holy Spirit does that. And so marriage meant to me 2 people fixing each other. That's not at all what it is. It's 2 people saying, you know what? We both got our baggage, we've got our mistakes, and we're going to love each other through them. And you're going to learn Christ's love through my love for you and whatever imperfections exist. It is not my place to fix her. It is my place to love her. It's not her place to fix me. And I need a lot of fixing. It's her place to love me. And in that light, I'll desire and she'll desire the change. But anyway, number 2.
All right. Well, we saw what Raymond Barone sees as the benefits of marriage are. But I'd like to ask you guys, what are the benefits of marriage?
She talks all the time at home. It's
Oh, I'm just really nervous. I'd rather sing than talk. But, okay. Benefits of marriage to me are sharing our life together, having a friendship in a bond like nobody else. We know everything about each other that y'all don't. And, of course, intimacy only with him.
Amen. You know, we found you do marriage two different ways. You can live in isolation under the same roof, or you can be partners. And one of the things, I'm a strong person. For a while, and we'll talk about communication in the next week or two. But I kind of, for a while, felt that my place as the man, as the leader, was to handle everything, and then she just exists, if you will. And man, it just wasn't working. This partnership, I noticed she was functioning more like a friend or an observer than a partner. And so again, the Lord just convicted me to share my heart and what's going on in our life. And I can tell you, there's more pastors on antidepressants statistically than any other career in the United States. It's just a tough go at it. Someone's always got beef with you. Someone's always complaining. Someone always knows how to run the church better. It is absolutely endless. And so I carry the burden, and I lock it up, and I don't let her in. But at the same time, if she's not my partner, then I'm not her partner. And man, I just saw that we're living a life, but we're living alone. And the benefit of marriage is a partnership in which I allow her to know and understand things about me that nobody else does. And honestly, things about me that I don't care if anyone else knows. You know, and part of it is being vulnerable enough for her to see my weaknesses and my faults and trust that she still loves me. You know, when you give your life to the Lord, you're saying, hey, here I am, you know everything, and I trust that you love me. Well, in marriage, it starts early, you know, and us trying to just wing it by ourselves. You handle this, you handle this. And the partnership continues to suffer, where one day we wake up and the man has a man cave and the she has a she shed, right? And I don't know how we get there. And what I was telling the early services, it seems like the longer folks have been married, the less time they want to spend with each other. And that really concerns me. Because, friend, if I understand what Scripture says about marriage and His love for us and the love for the church, the farther we get into this thing, the better it should work. The more she should know, the more I should trust, the more inseparable we should be. But instead, I'm just telling you, especially in Baptist circles, I've never pastored any other groups of people, but it seems like the longer we're married, the less we can kind of deal with each other. And when does that happen? When do you wake up and decide, man, this person that I remember, if you know me, I don't talk on the phone. And I would call her, 782-6730, right? Man, I hadn't dialed that number in 15 years anyway? 16, and I'd call that. And we would talk, and now there's no time for conversation. See, folks, it doesn't make sense, and you know it doesn't. But what it takes to change anything is to admit you're not doing it right. And man, that was hard for me. That was hard for me to think, you know, the benefits there at marriage really aren't there. I mean, yeah, the person's there all the time, but what is the benefit of their presence? And the benefit of the presence is sharing every facet of life with them. And man, I did not do that well at first. So, Don, I want to get to this next one.
All right. When we all start out on the marriage journey, we have our own expectations. And I would just ask you guys, what were 4 expectations that found a very different reality once you were married?
Okay. For me, it was unspoken expectations, and I talk a lot about this with folks in premarital counseling. You know, you're raised a certain way, right? For me, it was, every rug in the house should be parallel to the bed skirt, and there should never be dishes in the sink, and then clothes should be done. And Jeanette wasn't necessarily, she was just raised more relaxed. There's no right or wrong, and here's what you need to understand. You weren't raised wrong, and your spouse wasn't raised wrong. They were different. They're stackers, okay? I'm a disposer. Like, if it's set in an area for longer than a period of 3 weeks, and it's not been utilized, then we throw it away, right? Or if it's food in the refrigerator, and it's been there longer than, a week, I generally throw it away. In Jeanette's world, everything has an eternal place. It's like heaven. Nothing is ever sent to the trash hell. We don't organize it really.
I think you
Stop.
exaggerating there a
Okay,
little bit.
stop. We just stack it, and so it occurred to me that it would the stacks would go and they'd be there, and I would flip out and I would just throw everything away, and that wasn't kind. I'm just telling you, I'd had it because that's not what I expected that we'd do stuff. And folks, that was damaging. And now I've just come to realize it's not wrong, it's different. And you know what? If she wants to stack stuff, she can stack stuff. I love her, and I choose to love her stacks of stuff. I love you.
You going anywhere else with this?
No, I better just quit.
I would just suggest you stop digging, preacher, and move on to the second part.
That's not no.
That was a good lesson, though. I mean, you got to admit, there's
I'm a
content
lot better.
there.
I'm a lot better.
I'm not reprimanding you. I'm the anal one. I'm the one that's imbalanced.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You didn't. No, anyway, I was going to say the thing about what have you been doing all day? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he used to tell me that. Got two babies. He comes in and there's stacks and stuff.
Well, mainly is
He says, "What have you been doing all day?" I'm like,
Now let's put that in context just a little bit.
just because I stay home with our babies.
Boy, I can't make that right.
So
But
we'll go on.
Let me tell you that the fault and justification is my fault. Is that I had absolutely unrealistic expectations. Friend, I can't. I have trouble managing our 3 children. It's like a circus. I mean, they're everywhere. Someone's pooping and someone's crying and someone's hitting somebody. There's just a lot of them. And so, when they were born, Jeanette, I'm a list maker, right? I'm a doer. She's an investor, okay? And it's 2 different personalities, and it took me so long to figure this out, is that I show love by doing things for people. And so I feel like, when she's gone, I'm going to make sure everything is taken care of. And in my mind, that's love. What hers is that if you're at our house, she is going to be invested in spending time with you, right? Where if you're at our house and it's me, I'm going to wash your cup as soon as you're done, and I'm going to take your dish. She's going to give you her attention. And so my biggest mistake was I completely misread the situation. It's not that she didn't love me, it's that her priority when our kids were there was just spending time with them. And friend, I told you last week, the most important thing you could give your children is yourself. And so how I gauged things and how I measured things was impersonal and unkind and unfair. Because I live in a world where there's a paycheck for a product and a performance, okay? Just like you do, okay? My job is not that much different. I'm a manager. I run a business, okay? And don't even go. I can argue that to the end of the day. I can prove that to you. And so when I come home, that economy is still alive. in my head and transferring that to relationships inside of a family, it is much in what we've learned, and it's much better, because I'm a little OCD, it's much better to have a messy, happy house than a cold house where it doesn't look like a family lives. And so again, there's been a lot of things the Lord has shared with me, and a lot of things that he's taught me through our marriage. But I'm telling you, I always didn't get there the best way, that's for sure.
Okay, another expectation that found a very different reality is when we, let's see, how old was I? I had just turned 20.
I think you were 13.
I looked like it.
Yeah. Still do.
Oh, not really, thanks. Well, we were engaged, and, I still lived at home, and I was going to West Ark and going to college, and, we just decided, since Eric was going off to seminary in North Carolina, that we were going to be married in May. Well, we just decided we'd just go ahead and get married in January. That went over really well.
With folks.
Yeah. And
we had no money, no plan,
Yeah, that's what we're getting to. So, we get married. We move off to North Carolina, and we have no money. We have no jobs. Nothing. We get into this little tiny apartment at the college, and I go, I don't think everything can fit in here.
It was like a 1-bedroom,
And,
half bath,
well, it was 2-bedroom.
with a microwave.
But anyway, and then, the rent, the phone, I can't believe how much that phone cost. Anyway, so we didn't have any money. And so Eric got a job that he wasn't happy with. And, because, well, God called him to preach. And so finally we got a job or he got a job as a youth pastor. And, well, we still didn't have any money because we were going to college. And I remember one day, a lady at the church, I'm going to cry again, man. I almost cried the whole first service. I thought I was going to do a lot better. Anyway, she came up to me and she shook my hand and she had $20 in her hand. Oh my gosh. And we didn't have anything. And she said, and she didn't really have much of anything either, and she was a lady at our church, and she said, God just laid it upon my heart to give this to you. And I was thinking, yeah, we have some gas money to get back to college. And anyway, so that expectation was, I didn't really think we were going to be broke. But God worked it out, and it was great. You have anything else to say? I'm done.
Yeah, we were po. I mean, po white trash is what we was. Yeah, we moved to the parsonage over there, and man, it was like 3,000 square foot, and oh man, we were living large. And then the heater was heated with LP, gas, and it ran out. And the tank was about the size of an RV, and so I called, and they come out, and it's going to be $600 to fill that stupid thing. And man, we couldn't do it. There's just no way we could come up with $600. And so we got some quilts that our grandma had made for her, and we hung them in the doorways, and we had a few bucks, and we went and bought us a little ceramic heater. And just wherever we went, that heater went with us, And then one day the preacher come into the kitchen, and man, it was cold. It was cold in the house, and he could see his breath in the kitchen. And he said, Eric, why in the world is this cold in here? And I was like, man, I ain't got no money. I can't, $600 for liquid propane. There's no way I can do that. I mean, we're paying tuition and gas and Jeanette's gambling bill. And I mean, there's just a number of different things. And so anyway, he went and talked to the deacons, and the deacons filled that up for us. And man, we cranked that heater up, and we were living in heaven again. Rather than, it seemed like heaven would be cooler than hell, but either way. in looking back, Lord's been good to us, and we've never starved. I mean, I remember beans and whatever I could kill or catch, and then I finally got a job in construction, and I remember coming home with that paycheck, and man, we were going to the Sizzler. That was date night, and I ate 1A. That's that little bitty petite sirloin, and I remember looking across the table at her and thinking, I have, by all means and measured, arrived. So, Lord always been good. But again, looking back, this is true. It was never simpler and it was never more fun than it was then. The more we have, the more stressed we are. And so anyway, I'm encouraging you again, just go back and make life just as simple as you can for today. You don't need near what you think you do. I hear all this a lot, and people just say, well, it'll just work out. Well, listen to me. If there's damage or if there's wounds in a marriage, it doesn't just go away. You're going to come back to them. If there's a disagreement or an argument that gets out of hand, the wounds don't heal, they leave scars, okay? It doesn't go away. And so what I would just encourage you to think through, now we believe the Lord's sovereign, and we've seen him in our marriage and our life step in and make beauty from ashes. But friend, there's things that you have control over, and you need to start taking responsibility for those things. How you argue or how you fight, and we made a decision earlier not to raise our voices or use profanity at each other or roll our eyes or tell each other to shut up. And there's been times, and that's been, I'm sure, hard on her part, because I definitely deserved a pretty good tongue lashing here or there. But friend, it's prevented us from damage. And friend, if you're sitting back here and you're like, you know what? Our marriage ought to be better. Our marriage could be better. Do something about it. It's just not going to get any better without your effort, without your focus. And here's the other thing. There should be nothing better than marriage on the face of this earth. Amen. Nothing better. I mean, if the Lord created this institution, he saw man and man was alone. So he created for him a partner, a helpmate, to complement him, even in his anatomy. I mean, let's just get straight, right? That should be such a blissful, not without challenge, but it should be that direct relation, that direct illustration, the explanation of Christ's love for the bride. And so my concern with, it just seems like there was a time where the church just got real fake, real cold and real calloused. And we've got to come back to saying, I don't care if you're a deacon. If your marriage ain't right, you're not right with Jesus. I don't care if you're a Sunday school teacher. If your marriage is not okay, you're not right with the Lord. Friend, you've got to get rid of the standards and the legalism that we've employed and put back on the lens of Scripture. Friend, the quality of a man, you cannot separate my quality from my faithfulness to her. If I'm not faithful to her, I am no man. I'm a coward and a cheat. I'm a thief and a liar. Let's go on to number 4.
All right. As you know, and you've just alluded to, men and women are so different. Men need to feel respected. So I ask you, how does Jeanette show you respect after 16 years or 16 years into marriage?
That's yours.
The one thing that makes me feel absolutely, I'm Big Daddy, but one thing that really affirms that is anytime she compliments or recognizes something that I've done. I was telling somebody in premarital counseling the other day, it's kind of like an old rabbit dog. I don't know if you ever had a beagle or not. But you can take this one beagle, and I used to play with rabbits. I never had a good dog. But I found one out at Chaffee, and I stole it from some old boy. And he had a collar, and it had a phone number. Eventually, I took it back, but I used it for a little while. And I turned this little dog out back, and Grandpa told me to give him biscuits if we got the rabbit. Man, we got back there in the old swamp, and it wasn't too long. Boy, he struck a trail, and I shot the rabbit, and I gave him a biscuit. Life was good. Well, next one he hit, I swear he ran that thing for hours and hours and hours. Finally, I shot that rabbit, and I gave him a biscuit. Now, men are pretty simple, okay? Now think about it this way. That dog had no idea that there was a difference between running 10 minutes and 2 hours as long as he got a biscuit, okay? So ladies, I need you to employ something. Now, we're pretty predictable and we're pretty simple. If he does good, give him a biscuit, okay? Tell him good job. Tell him thank you. Wow, you're so talented. Even if it's not square, even if the paint doesn't match, there's a bigger picture here, okay? All right, if he even, just remember, most of you are just wishing your man would get off the recliner or off the couch just a little bit. So by all means, if he shows some kind of initiative in repairing something, make it a big deal. A biscuit. And I like biscuits.
All right, Jeanette, we know that women, those of us that have read the book, I guess, know that women want to feel loved in the relationship. And after 16 years, things can kind of get routine. But how does Eric show you love 16 years into marriage?
Well, of course, he shows me love by his faithfulness to me and me alone. And one of the things that he really does a great job of is protecting our marriage from anything that anyone might think to be negative at all with any other woman. For instance, I didn't know he was doing this, but when he gets his hair cut by a woman, he would take Kyle or Brandon with him. And y'all might think that's silly, but it really means a lot to me because nobody could have thought anything about him. Nobody could have assumed anything. And he does a wonderful job of showing his love to me through that and by providing for our family and allowing me to be a stay-at-home mom that I've just been so blessed to do. He has no idea what that has meant to me. Just our time together and affection towards me and compliments to me too.
Yeah,
he doesn't do very good at that.
How can she? Here's the old guy's way out of it, right? There's no way she can wonder whether I'm attracted to her or not. But the fact is, there are words of affirmation, and again, there's going to be several books that we're going to recommend over the next 4 weeks, and I definitely encourage you, if you've not read The 5 Love Languages, pick it up. It's a little corny, dudes, but just stick with it. It'll pay its dividends. And back to, guys, I have security in Jesus Christ. Now listen to me, guys. I have security in Jesus Christ. It's not about her being jealous. It's about if there's anything I can give her in this life, it must be security. I don't want her wondering whether I want somebody else. Come on. She never, to my knowledge, said anything. We've kidded here and there, and maybe, there's something there, but, right? But it's my gift to her. I'm just playing. It's my gift to her to say, I'm going to create parameters and protections so that you don't even have to worry about it. And I'm going to do that in ways that you know about and in ways that you'll never know about. There's no women's phone numbers in my phone. There may be phone numbers, but they're not saved. Most of the time I don't know who you are if you're a woman, and I'll say, who dis? And then I'll copy your husband, or I'll attach your husband onto there. Is that necessary? Guys, here's the deal. If there's never an opportunity, there's never a possibility. And so you may think you're all strong and stuff, and so did David. When I get to heaven, if I've done anything, it's that I have been loyal and faithful to her. And guys, your thought ladies, same to you. Either don't be tweetering or some other dude. I mean, just take it home, people. I don't get it. You can have as much sex as you want to with your spouse, okay? Every bit of it. But friend, that's where it stops. And if you get outside of that, you are a coward and a thief. You are a liar. And you're in desperate need of the Lord's forgiveness. All right.
All right. I've seen up close and personal how busy you are, Eric, and I think all of us are busy with 3 kids and work and everything. How do you make time for each other today?
Honestly, we kind of have to schedule it a lot of times. And sometimes we're lucky a grandparent will ask for them and we'll have a night to ourselves. But Eric was saying in the first service, last year, for the first time, we went on a vacation, just us. And it was really nice. I did miss my kids, but I thought I would miss them a lot more.
I'm quite the distraction.
Can you finish that?
Yeah.
Keep crying.
Here's the deal. We take our kids on vacation, and I'm not against taking your kids. You take kids anywhere you can. But for us, Disney World's a little unrealistic. My mom and dad took me, and about all I can remember was throwing up at the Epcot. That's about how far that took me. So when we take our kids on vacation, like on spring break, we'll take them to Mount Magazine, and we'll swim in the indoor pool. And folks, life just doesn't get much better than that. It's about downtime together. It's about reconnecting as a family. It's not about busy. Vacations, my kids aren't going to remember, again, where they went. They're going to remember who they were with and what we did together, as in fulfilling time, fun time. And so we don't spend a lot of money on our family vacations. We may go to Branson, again, Mount Magazine, we'll go camping or to the lake. We love the lake and just piddling around and fishing. But, when it comes to Jeanette and I, and, we went to Cancun last year, and and that's not something that really was in our budget. But while we were there, it was so necessary, to have 4 or 5 days where we caught up as adults, We laughed and we went dancing, and man, we just did all kinds of stuff Baptists ain't supposed to do, and it was just a hoot. And while we were there, we just talked about it, and we, made an investment to ensure that that's something that we would do every year, and we're headed back here at the end of March, and I can't wait. I can't wait to have my little lady to myself for a little while. And we love our children desperately, but the children are a product, they're not the priority. And again, you think whatever you will, and I want to allow you to have that. But friend, I'm just going to encourage you, if you're going to spend some money on something, you spend it on you and your spouse going and enjoying life. Those kids are being gone one day, and here's my deal. I'm spending their inheritance now. Folks, they can make their own money when that time comes. Hey, if we raise them halfway, they'll be fine. But guys, you cannot invest too much in your marriage, and you can't be too selfish with your time together. The kids were at Mom and Paul's this weekend, and man, we just rented movies and we slept all day, and spent, it was that pause button, And you don't have to be busy, all right? I talked about it last week. Be still. Just talk about your dreams, talk about your goals. Because if you're in a partnership, friend, there's got to be communication and assessment of where you're at in line with your goals strategically. And so you got to come back and hit that reset button, and without that, you're going to get caught up so much in raising children. Raising children is all you're going to know. And you're going to lose the most valuable, the most precious, the most important thing in this earthly world. And I'm just telling you, I can't touch Jesus. I can't hold Jesus. I can touch her and I can hold her. When she holds, it's the Lord showing me his love. And man, if there's anything I hope you see over this 4 weeks, we've not always made the best decisions. And here's the other thing. Don't stress so much financially. Friend, we've never really had it, and we probably never will. But by golly, I'm going to have fun. I'm out of here as soon as that horn blows. I'm out. I want to have memories as a family much more than I want to have some big house or some big bank account when this thing is over. This has got to be okay. And so enjoy. Don't live in your means, friends, but please don't be afraid to spend money going out of town or something. And scheduling, date night, we'd rather sit at the house when we had anything. If we go out to eat, it's with the senior citizens at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just so we can be back and have that quiet, still time. That's when you recharge. You don't recharge running 100 miles an hour.
Okay. We often talk about young love, and you guys have been together for 16 plus years. How has your display of love changed in these last 16 years?
Well, like you said, whenever you're first married, it's easy, right? You don't have kids running around. Well, when those kids came around, I pretty much gave them all my attention. And that's something that I've struggled with. And I'd say probably about the last 2 years, at least, I've tried to change the way that I've displayed my love by pursuing him more and by...
She makes me food now. Instead of me just eating what they have left. Like whatever was in their bottle, I would finish off, or whatever was in their little baby food thing, I'd scrape together. And
No.
I'm kidding, sweetie.
But, I mean, I hope that I've changed. I've tried. Been trying.
It was never as bad as she assumed. You know, it's just kids change things, okay, folks. They make it tough. And that's the biggest blessing in the world. I mean, hey, I wouldn't trade all three for a brand new bass boat. I mean, right? They're pretty special people. But it's something that you just don't know how it's going to change till it changes. And then you look back and you say, wow, this changed. What are we going to do? And so, man, our kids, I mean, I don't know that if you were in our home, you would distinguish whether our children or our spouse was a priority, because it's not that big a difference. But man, I sure do want, when I get home, you know, I want a little kiss when I walk in the door. That's all, just so that somebody knows that I'm home and breathing, right? And one of the things, you know, that I get up early every morning, and it used to not be that big a deal. But man, folks, just give each other a little kiss before you go. There ain't no guarantee you're coming home. So I'll just give her a big hug and kiss her on the cheek and tell her I love her. Because, folks, that may be all I got. That may be all she hangs on to till heaven. And, you know, you can't get too busy. You just can't get too busy for your spouse to be a priority. You know, it'll never be easier than it is right now for you to put things in perspective. Life will never be less stressful than it is right now. So there's no excuses. How has my display of love changed for her? It's not fixing her anymore. She don't need fixed. It's just loving her. It's just realizing I've got today, and man, we're going to have fun with this thing. She's not going to question me cheating on her. She's not going to question whether I want her, whether I desire her. I don't care if we have money, but we will have fun. And guys, I know that sounds simple, but that's what I want you to see. What we're missing is simplicity. All right? We've gotten so caught up in the rat race, like it's that we talk about. Like we're just a bunch of rats doing what we've been trained to do. Instead of coming back and saying, no, I'm not going to eat in the sewage. I'm going to go with the Lord's table where things make sense again. I'm going to give up on the complexity and the confusion, and I'm just going to go for the simplicity. Here's the deal. I get to love this woman for the rest of my life. And if I do this well, I will hear, well done, a good and faithful servant. Amen. If I don't, Jesus is not a liar. You're not going to hear that. And so you can get caught up in a lot of things. But friend, if you're getting sidetracked and your marriage suffers, you have missed the number one priority of your existence here. And you'd say, no, it's the Great Commission. I'd say it's the Great Commission if you're not married. Once you're married, your partnership in fulfilling it is your highest priority. You doing it together. Okay? Lord, we love you and I thank you for the joy that it has brought to my life.